What you're about to witness is Judge Frank Caprio's most shocking case ever recorded. And I'm warning you right now, this story will absolutely destroy you emotionally. An 84-year-old homeless veteran walks into court for stealing a loaf of bread. But when Judge Caprio discovers what this man has been hiding in his shopping cart for 20 years, he stops everything and makes a decision that breaks the entire internet. Guys, I'm being completely serious. This video has over 50 million views because what happens next is so unbelievable that news stations around the world covered it. When this veteran reveals his secret, Judge Caprio does something so unprecedented that it changes courtroom history forever. But before I show you the most viral courtroom moment ever captured, less than 3% of you watching are actually subscribed. And this story about the greatest judge who ever lived deserves to reach everyone. So smash that subscribe button right now, because what you're about to see will restore your faith in humanity. Also, tell me in the comments right now, where in the world are you watching this from? Are you in New York, London, Tokyo, Brazil? Because this story needs to reach every corner of the planet, and I want to see how far Judge Caprio's legacy of compassion spreads. What this homeless veteran was carrying in his cart for 2 decades will make you so uncontrollably. What Judge Caprio does when he sees it will give you chills. And what happens after this video went viral will shock you to your core. It's a cold November morning in Providence Municipal Court, and Judge Frank Caprio is sitting behind his bench, completely unaware that he's about to witness something that will break his heart and restore his faith in humanity all at the same time. The courtroom is packed as usual. Families, defendants, court staff, and visitors who've traveled from different states just to see Judge Caprio's legendary compassion in action. There's this energy in the air, like something incredible is about to happen. At exactly 10:15 a.m., the bailiff calls the final case of the morning, a simple shoplifting charge that looks completely routine on paper. But guys, nothing about this case is routine. Through those heavy courtroom doors walks 84-year-old Robert Bobby Martinez. And the first thing you notice isn't Bobby himself, it's what he's pulling behind him. An old beat-up shopping cart covered with a green tarp, wheels with every step containing what looks like everything he owns in the world. But before I tell you what Judge Caprio discovers in that shopping cart, something so incredible it made grown men cry, I need you to do me a huge favor. Drop a comment right now telling me where you're watching from. Are you in Texas, Germany, Australia, Philippines? Because this story deserves to be heard everywhere, and Judge Caprio's legacy of compassion needs to spread to every corner of our planet. Bobby moves slowly, carefully, using a walking stick that looks like it was carved from driftwood. He's wearing layers of clothes, a faded army jacket over 2 sweaters, pants that have been patched and repatched, boots held together with duct tape. You can tell this man has been living rough for a long time. But here's what catches Judge Caprio's attention immediately. Despite Bobby's obvious homelessness and poverty, he carries himself with dignity. He removes his worn baseball cap respectfully, stands as straight as his aged body allows, and looks Judge Caprio directly in the eyes. Robert Anthony Martinez, the court clerk announces, reading from the case file. Bobby steps forward, gripping his walking stick with one weathered hand and keeping his other hand protectively on his shopping cart, like he's guarding the most precious thing in the world. Judge Caprio looks up from his paperwork with those compassionate eyes that have shown mercy to thousands of people over his 30-year career. Something about Bobby immediately tells him this isn't just another shoplifting case. Mr. Martinez, you're charged with shoplifting, specifically taking a loaf of bread valued at $2.89 from Tony's Market. How do you plead? Guilty, Your Honor, Bobby says, his voice carrying the weight of someone who's lived through things most of us can't even imagine. I took the bread. I was hungry and I had no money. Judge Caprio sets down his pen, that familiar gesture that signals he's about to move beyond legal formalities into something more human. Mr. Martinez, can you tell me about your circumstances? Why were you unable to pay for the bread? Bobby glances around the packed courtroom, then back at Judge Caprio. Your Honor, I've been homeless for 6 years now. I live on the streets, try to find work when I can, but at my age it's not easy. Judge Caprio's expression softens. Mr. Martinez, may I ask how old you are? 84, Your Honor. Same age as you, I believe. This stops Judge Caprio completely. 2 84-year-old men born in the same year, but living completely different lives. One respected and honored sitting on the bench of justice, the other homeless and hungry standing before him as a defendant. We are indeed the same age, Mr. Martinez. Can you tell me, did you serve our country? Bob's entire posture changes. Despite his frail appearance, he straightens up with military bearing. Yes, Your Honor. United States Marine Corps, Vietnam, 1968 to 1970, 3 tours of duty. And guys, if you're already feeling the emotional weight of this story, an 84-year-old homeless Marine veteran, the same age as Judge Caprio, stealing bread just to survive, please hit that like button right now. This story represents everything that's both heartbreaking and beautiful about our system. And your engagement helps stories like Bobby's reach the people who desperately need to hear them. Judge Caprio does something he's famous for. He stands up from his bench and walks around to the front, eliminating the formal distance between judge and defendant. This is his signature move when something touches him deeply. Mr. Martinez, Bobby, you served 3 tours in Vietnam. Yes, Your Honor. I was 20 when I first shipped out to Dang. Thought I'd do 1 tour and come home, but they kept extending us, and before I knew it, I'd been there for 3 years. Throughout this entire conversation, Judge Caprio notices that Bobby keeps one protective hand on his shopping cart. His grip never loosens, like he's protecting something more valuable than gold. Bobby, I hope you don't mind me asking, what's in the cart? The moment Judge Caprio asks this question, Bob's entire demeanor changes. His grip tightens on the cart handle, and for the first time since entering the courtroom, he looks genuinely worried. Your Honor, it's personal items. Nothing illegal or stolen, just things that mean everything to me. Judge Caprio's intuition, sharpened by 3 decades of reading people's hearts, tells him there's something extraordinary here. Bobby, would you feel comfortable showing me what's in the cart? I'm not asking as a judge right now. I'm asking as a fellow human being who genuinely cares about your story. Bobby looks around the courtroom at the 50-plus people watching this exchange. His hands shake slightly as he considers the request, and you can see the internal struggle on his face. Your Honor, people might think I've lost my mind when they see what's in here. They might think the war broke something in my brain. Bobby, I've been on this bench for 30 years. I've seen everything, and I've never once thought someone was broken for caring deeply about something. Please show us what matters to you. Bobby takes a deep breath that seems to come from the depths of his soul. Slowly, carefully, he pulls back the green tarp covering his shopping cart. What the entire courtroom sees next stops everyone cold. The shopping cart is filled with hundreds upon hundreds of photographs, letters, military documents, and small personal items, dog tags, Purple Heart medals, Bronze Star ribbons, and what appears to be a carefully maintained military journal wrapped in plastic. But that's not the shocking part. That's not what makes this story go viral with 50 million views. As Bobby carefully lifts out some of the photographs, Judge Caprio's eyes widen in complete amazement. Bobby, are these? Yes, Your Honor, Bobby says, his voice beginning to crack with emotion. Every Marine from my 3 units who didn't make it home from Vietnam. I've been carrying their pictures, their letters, and their stories for over 50 years. The courtroom falls into absolute. Bobby begins lifting out photograph after photograph. Young faces, most barely out of their teens, looking at the camera with that mixture of bravery and uncertainty that defines Marines heading into combat zones. This is Lance Corporal Danny Reeves from Oklahoma, Bobby says, holding up a black and white photo. 19 years old when he died in the Tet Offensive. He used to show me pictures of his girlfriend Sarah and talk about the farm they were going to buy when he got home. Judge Caprio moves closer, and as he does, Bobby continues pulling out more photographs and documents. Each one representing a life cut short, a family forever changed. This is Corporal Miguel Santos from New Mexico. He was going to be a teacher when the war ended. He died saving 4 wounded Marines during a mortar attack. His last words were, "Tell my mama I love her and I'm proud to be your son." And this, Bobby says, is Private First Class Kevin O'Brien from Boston, 18 years old. He threw himself on a grenade to save our entire squad. Before he died, he handed me this letter for his parents and said, "Make sure they know I wasn't scared. Make sure they know I died thinking about Sunday dinners at home." As Bobby continues showing photographs and sharing stories, people throughout the courtroom begin to cry openly. These aren't just old military photos. They're a mobile memorial maintained by a man who has refused to let his brothers in arms be forgotten, even at the cost of his own well-being. Your Honor, I know people see me as just a crazy old homeless veteran with a cart full of junk, but these boys, they deserve to be remembered. Their families deserve to know that someone still carries their memory, still honors their sacrifice. Judge Caprio's eyes fill with tears as the full scope of Bobby's 50-year commitment becomes clear. Bobby, how many Marine stories are you carrying? 382, Your Honor. Every name, every face, every story I can remember or piece together. I've got their final letters home, their medals that never made it to their families, their personal effects that got lost in the chaos of war. I've been their guardian for half a century. But Bobby isn't finished. He reaches into the deepest part of his card and pulls out a thick, worn notebook, its edges frayed from decades of handling, wrapped carefully in multiple layers of plastic to protect it from rain and weather. This is their book, Your Honor. Every story I could find, every detail about their lives, their dreams, their deaths, and their families. I've been writing in it for 53 years, adding to it whenever I learn something new about one of my boys. Judge Caprio takes the notebook with hands that treat it like a religious artifact and begins reading. His expression changes from amazement to awe to something approaching reverence. Bobby, this is thoughtful. This is the most comprehensive memorial to forgotten heroes I've ever seen. You've created a masterpiece of remembrance. But what Judge Caprio reads next in the notebook stops him completely, and this is the moment that makes this video go viral worldwide. Bobby, it says here that you've been tracking down the families of fallen Marines and returning their personal effects. How many families have you found over the years? 216 families, Your Honor. Sometimes it takes years, sometimes decades, but I find them. I travel however I can. Hitchhiking, walking, taking buses when I have money. I give them their son's last letter or his medal or a picture he carried of home. I tell them how brave their boy was, how much he was loved by his Marine brothers, how he died with honor. Judge Caprio realizes he's looking at a man who has spent 53 years serving others, honoring the dead, and comforting the living, all while living in poverty and homelessness himself. Bobby, you've been homeless for 6 years? Yes, sir. Lost my apartment when my VA disability payments got messed up due to some computer error. Been living on the street since then, but I keep the cart with me always. These boys need someone to watch over them, to make sure they're never forgotten. And guys, I need to pause here because what you're witnessing is the most beautiful act of service and remembrance you'll ever see in your lifetime. If you're not subscribed to this channel yet, please hit that button right now. Stories like Bobby's remind us what real heroism looks like, and your support helps us share these incredible human stories with the world. What Judge Caprio does next becomes the most talked about moment in courtroom history, shared and reshared millions of times across every social media platform. He removes his judicial robe, walks over to Bobby, and does something completely unprecedented in the history of American jurisprudence. He kneels down in front of the shopping cart and begins carefully examining each photograph, reading each story, treating Bobby's mobile memorial with the reverence of a sacred war memorial. Ladies and gentlemen, Judge Caprio announces to the packed courtroom, his voice carrying to every corner and filled with emotion. You are witnessing something extraordinary. This man has dedicated his entire adult life to honoring fallen heroes who have been forgotten by everyone except him. Judge Caprio stands up and addresses not just the courtroom, but what he somehow knows will be millions of viewers around the world. Not only am I dismissing this shoplifting charge completely, but I'm doing something I've never done in 30 years on this bench. Robert Martinez, I'm appointing you as an honorary guardian of military remembrance for this court and this community. Your service to the memory of our fallen Marines is the most noble and selfless thing I've ever witnessed. The entire courtroom erupts in thunderous applause, but Judge Caprio raises his hand for quiet because he's not finished. Furthermore, effective immediately, I'm personally ensuring that Bobby has proper housing and all the support he needs to continue his sacred mission. The state of Rhode Island, through this court, will provide him with a permanent residence and whatever resources he requires to properly honor these fallen heroes. But Judge Caprio still isn't finished. In a moment that breaks every rule of courtroom procedure but touches every heart watching, he picks up his personal phone and makes a call right there in open court. General Patterson, this is Judge Frank Caprio in Providence. I have someone here you absolutely must meet immediately, someone who has been honoring our fallen Marines for 53 years with no recognition, no support, and no thanks except from the families of the heroes he's comforted. Can you be here in an hour? Within 40 minutes, representatives from the Rhode Island National Guard, the Veterans Affairs Office, the Providence Mayor's Office, and the Commanding General of the Regional Marine Corps Reserve are all in Judge Caprio's courtroom, meeting Bobby and learning about his 5-decade mission of remembrance. But the most incredible moment comes when Judge Caprio makes one final announcement that brings every person in the courtroom to tears. Bobby, I want you to know something, and I want everyone here and everyone who will watch this video to understand this clearly. You're not homeless anymore, you're not forgotten, you're not alone, and neither are your 382 Marine brothers. Today, right now, we honor all of you. What happened after this case became public created a worldwide movement of remembrance, support for veterans, and renewed respect for those who serve others selflessly. Within 6 hours of the video being posted online, Bobby's story had been viewed over 5 million times. Within 24 hours, it hit 25 million views. Major news networks from CNN to BBC to international outlets picked up the story. The Veterans Affairs Office immediately established the Robert Martinez Memorial Guard Fund to help homeless veterans and support private memorial efforts. In the first month alone, over $8 million was donated by people from around the world who were moved by Bobby's story. But the most amazing response came from the families of the Marines Bobby had been honoring. Within days, over 300 family members had contacted authorities, desperate to meet the man who had kept their loved ones' memories alive for half a century. Sarah Hriss, now 73, was the girlfriend of Lance Corporal Danny Reeves from Oklahoma. She flew to Providence to meet Bobby. Danny has been dead for 55 years, she told reporters through tears. But Bobby made sure he wasn't forgotten. He told me things about Danny's last days that I never knew. It's like getting a piece of my first love back. The Smithsonian Institution immediately requested Bobby's notebook and photograph collection for permanent display in the National Museum of American History. Both the Vietnam Veterans Memorial and Marine Corps War Memorial invited Bobby to participate in special ceremonies honoring the fallen. Bobby was provided with a beautiful 3-bedroom house where he could properly display and maintain his memorial collection. And the extra rooms became shrines to the 382 Marines whose stories he carries, with proper display cases and lighting donated by grateful Americans. But perhaps the most moving moment came when Bobby's story reached President Biden. The president himself, a father who has lost children and understands grief, personally invited Bobby to the White House and declared him a living national treasure, someone whose service to others embodies the very best of American values and the Marine Corps motto of Ser Fidelis, always faithful. Bobby told the president, "Mr. President, I never wanted recognition. I just wanted to make sure my boys weren't forgotten. Every Marine deserves to be remembered." This incredible case became Judge Frank Caprio's final act on the bench before his retirement, making it the perfect capstone to a legendary career of compassion and justice. Judge Caprio's family said that Bobby's case represented everything their father believed in throughout his life, that every person deserves dignity, that service to others is the highest calling any human can have, and that compassion has the power to change the entire world. At Judge Caprio's retirement ceremony, Bobby Martinez was given the place of honor at the head table. He brought with him a special photograph, Judge Caprio kneeling before the memorial cart, which he added to his collection. "Judge Caprio saved my life and honored my boys," Bobby told the crowd. Now he's part of the memorial too, because he showed the world what real justice looks like. And guys, I want to ask you something that I know Judge Caprio would want me to ask, and something that Bobby would want every person watching this to think about. In the comments below, tell us about someone in your life who deserves recognition for their quiet service to others. Who are the unsung heroes in your community? Who are the people making a difference every single day without asking for thanks or recognition? Judge Frank Caprio spent 30 years showing us that compassion is a choice we make every single day. Bobby Martinez spent 53 years proving that love, honor, and remembrance can survive any hardship, any challenge, any obstacle life throws at us. Drop your hero stories in the comments, because Judge Caprio's legacy lives on in every act of kindness, every moment of compassion, and every decision we make to see the humanity in others, especially those society has forgotten. If this story moved you, if Judge Caprio's compassion and Bobby's lifetime of service touched your heart, please share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that heroes walk among us every single day. Like this video, if you believe in honoring our veterans, supporting our homeless, treating every human being with dignity and respect, and never forgetting those who sacrificed everything for our freedom. Subscribe for more stories that prove Judge Frank Caprio's legacy. The compassion, kindness, and human decency will always triumph over indifference and hatred. And remember Judge Caprio's final words to Bobby and to all of us. Justice isn't just about following the law, it's about seeing the person behind the case and responding with your heart. Thank you for watching, thank you for caring, and thank you for keeping both Judge Caprio's spirit of kindness and the memory of our fallen heroes alive in your hearts. Comment.